Today we'll be starting the class regarding the spatial sense. Last time actually uh, motor's sensory system, nervous system sakai. So today we'll be talking about the spatial senses. So before that, let's have an introduction. Okay. First, you need to know what is the difference between the spatial senses and general senses. Okay. So general senses means just like pain, touch, vibration. In your last time I mentioned uh, sensory nervous system operative. That is a kind of different, and it's a little bit, a kind of let's say different senses with the special senses, because special senses we have got only 4 or 5 different organs which are responsible for giving a particular type of sensation, and they all are localized in our head. Okay, general means throughout our body. Special senses, they are confined or located within our head. So let's have a look. We have a nose. Okay, this is an organ which is responsible for giving a kind of a special sense, that is smell. Tongue, that is for taste. Eyes, that is for vision. And we have got ears, that's for hearing and equilibrium. Okay, and we have got a touch, which is a generalized sense. So you can touch in your body. Okay, which we can't say is a special sense. Special sense includes these 4 different organs giving a particular type of function, and all these senses they start from stimulus. So we have an external stimulus, that means we generally give a stimulus from outside. It goes to the nervous system, and through the nervous system it goes to the brain, and our brain will respond that stimulus. Okay, so this is actually the introduction, the basic concept regarding the spatial sense. And even these organs, they have got a receptor, a kind of a receptor which is responsible for giving a kind of a sensation through the stimulus. Okay, stimulus will act only on the receptor. Okay, now in spatial senses, actually we have got the receptors, which are sensory receptors. They are within a large complex sensory organs in the head. So I'm focusing again here the head. Okay, in the previous slide also I've told you head. So what you need to know is all the special organs they are confined within the head. So in Viva you may be asked these questions like, what is the difference between special senses and the general senses? The one answer you can give is special senses are confined within the head. Okay. Now, as I've said, smell in olfactory organ, and it is from the nose. Taste in taste buds, it's in the tongue. Hearing and equilibrium in ears, and the last one is the sight or vision in eyes. So these are actually the special senses, and today we won't go in detail, but we'll try to complete smell and taste of these 2 parts. I mean, out of these 4 different special senses, we'll be talking about the smell and taste if we have sufficient time. Okay, now look at the sense of taste. We have got a taste buds. These taste buds are actually the receptors. As I've said, until and unless the receptors are there, even the stimulus will not work. So in taste, we have got a taste buds, which stands for the receptor. It's the organs of a receptor, and it is located on papilla of tongue, roof of mouth, lining of cheeks, and walls of the pharynx. So in our mouth, there are taste buds, which is responsible for giving the sense of taste. Now, within these taste buds, we can see taste receptors. These are the chemoreceptors, because chemicals, or let's say ions, are responsible for giving the signal, or let's say a kind of a stimulus. That's why this is a chemoreceptors. Now we have in taste receptor, we have a taste cells. These cells are modified epithelial cells that functions as a receptor. Now ultimately, you have to talk about the receptor. So receptors are the taste cells which are there in the taste buds. Also the figure later. Taste cells are actually the modified epithelial cells which act as a receptors. And within the taste cells, there are taste hairs. We have got hairs. These hairs are actually the microvilli that protrude from the taste cells, and these are sensitive parts of the cells. Okay. Now, what you need to know, see, first, we have a taste buds, which is actually the organ of taste, and they are overall in our mouth. Number one, this is taste buds. Number two, you have to know about the receptors. The receptors are actually the cells, okay, taste cells. The name is cells, okay, and these are modified and acts as a receptor. Along with these cells, it has hairs, okay. Actually, these hairs are the modified form of microvilli, and these becomes the sensitive parts of the cells. And how they work? They work with the chemicals. That's why these receptors are considered as a chemoreceptors. Okay. Now, chemical sense, we are talking about taste, and the sensation of taste is known as gustation. Okay, gustation, it means it's a sense of taste. Now, it results from the action of chemicals on taste buds. See, it results from action of chemicals. It results from action of chemicals. That's why these receptors are known as chemoreceptors. And we have different papillae, lingual papillae are there, and generally they are divided into three different groups: falciform, fungiform, and valid, or simply circumvalid. Now, filiform, they are actually, these filiform lingual papillae are actually important for the texture of food. हामीले जुन फुड खान्छ नि, जस्ट लाइक तिमीलाई केक मन पर्छ अरे, कसैलाई आइसक्रिम मन पर्छ अरे, okay, you will feel the texture. It is because of the filiform. और कसैलाई मासु मन पर्छ अथवा अंडा मन पर्छ अथवा अथवा you can just differentiate between the beaten rice and simple rice. Just like हामीले भात खाने बेला र चिउरा खाने बेला, you can feel the texture of the food. It is because of the filiform. Or you can differentiate the texture of rice with the ice cream or cake. Cake अलि soft हुन्छ, right? So it is the filiform. Filiform lingual papilla is actually responsible for giving the texture. Another is the fungiform. So these fungiform papillae are actually present at the tips of the tongue and even at the sides, tips and sides of the tongue. Okay. Then we have another, that is the valid or circumvalid. So they are present at the rear of the tongues and contain something like half of the taste buds. Okay, so out of these three, filiform doesn't consist of buds, but fungiform and valid, they consist of taste buds. If you look at this, see, this is actually the papillae, lingual papilla. So what we're talking about, it's like we have got a lingual papillae are of three different forms: filiform, fungiform, and valid. So if you look at this figure, these are papillae. This is papillae. If you cut the papillae here, like this, okay, what you will find, you can see the taste buds over here. Just like this is the normal papillae. If you cut over here, you'll see like this. And you can see different taste buds. These are the buds where you can see the cells and the hair cells and everything over here. Now look at this, okay? This is a kind of a, leaky papillae, or that means chemical can go inside this leaky papillae. See, it's not close, but fluids can go inside like this. Okay, now these are different taste buds. If you magnify this small portion, you will see like this. Okay, now look at what are the different components here in the taste buds. First, we have a cell here. This is taste cells. This is actually the receptor. It is pink or purple color. This cell, this purple color cell, is actually the receptor, taste cells. And these cells are actually supported by the supporting cells here, blue color, along with one more cells which is known as basal cell at the basal part. This is apical part. This is basal part. That's why the cells here is known as basal cell. Okay. Now just make up your mind. Make a kind of a mental picture in your mind as you're having some food. What will happen? Saliva will go inside along with the chemicals. Then what will happen? If you look at this taste here of a cell. Taste cell को माथि के हुन्छ र यसरी हेयर बसेर हुन्छ. This is kind of a microvilli. यसले सेन्स गर्ने हो. यसले लिएर यो सेल्सले यो रिसेप्टरले सेन्स गर्ने हो. कसरी गयो फेरि once more. Okay, mouthमा we have got lots of papillae. Papillae are of three different: pungiform, filiform, and circumvallate. Okay, the papillae is just structure हुन्छ. If you cut here, you'll see taste buds lining here inside. If you magnify this small portion, you will see like this. This is a taste bud. So chemical जुन यहाँ भित्र गएको हुन्छ, ultimately it will sense by these hair cells. Okay, and this cell receptor will sense it, and it will give a stimulus or kind of a sensation to this sensory nerve fiber here. Okay, so this is the tongue. Now if you look, we have a taste cells, that is the receptor in the taste buds. Apical microvilli, see here is the microvilli which receptors which serves as a receptor surface, and they make a synapse with the nerve fiber at the base. See, this is apical region, this is the basal region. So at the base there is a synapse with the sensory nerve fiber, and ultimately the signal will travel to the brain. तिमीले के खायो, नुनिले खायो कि पिरो खायो कि गुलियो खायो कि सावर के खायो, यो सबै सेन्स के त यो केमिकलले दिने हो. यी स्मल केमिकल्सहरु हुन्छन् जुन भेसिकल्सहरु छन्, यसले न्यूरोट्रान्समिटरलाई सिग्नल पठाइदिने. Okay, so this is a receptor. Now, as I've said, these receptors are actually supported by supporting cells along with the basal cells at the basal side. So these are the three different cells you need to remember in the gustation. Okay, taste sensation को लागि तीनवटा सेल्सहरुको नाम याद गर्नु पर्यो. Taste cells, supporting cells, and basal cells. Okay, look at the physiology of taste. कसरी जान्छ त? First thing, whatever you eat, no matter whether it's cake or ice cream or whatever, okay, whatever तिमीलाई मन पर्ने चीज के गरी खायो भने, that molecules must dissolve in saliva. That means until and unless it is not dissolved, you won't feel the taste. For example, तिमीहरुको मुखमा त्यतिकै राइस मात्र राख्दियौ, you won't feel any sensation because there are no receptors. Receptors are there in the taste buds. Okay, it dissolve भइसकेपछि भित्र जानु पर्यो प्यापिलाको थ्रुबाट. अथवा आल्मन्ड हुन्छ नि अथवा काजु हुन्छ नि, तिम्रो टङमा राख, you won't sense it. You won't sense the taste because त्यसलाई क्रस गर्नु पर्यो, सलिभामा डिजल्भ इन द सेन्स कि सलिभासँग मिक्स हुनु पर्यो, देन प्यापिला भित्र जानु पर्यो, देन टेस्ट बड्समा जानु पर्यो, देन प्यापिलाले सेन्स गरेर सिनाप्स हुँदै अल्टिमेटली हाम्रो कर्टेक्समा जान्छ. We have actually 4 different primary sensation. Okay, चारवटा sensation हुन्छ. However, गाइडन एउटा बुकमा चाहिँ 5वटा भनेर राखिरहेछ. It's better to write 5. Okay, अरु सबै बुक्समा 4वटा लेखिरहेछ: स्वीट, साल्ट, सावर, बिटर. Okay, 4वटा छन्. But गाइडन बुकमा चाहिँ युमामी भनेर एउटा अर्को सेन्सेसन एउटा थपेछ. सो इट्स बेटर टु राइट द अपडेटेड भर्जन. So sweet, it is generally concentrated on tip of the tongue, salty on the lateral margins, sour at the lateral margins, bitter at the posterior of the tongue, and umami, it's almost there in our tongue, overall tongue. And umami ko meaning के हो भने स्वीट भनेको सबैलाई थाहा छ, राइट? साल्टी, सावर, बिटर सबैलाई थाहा छ. umami भनेको एक्सट्रिम स्वीटनेस हो. एक्सट्रिम स्वीटनेस हो. स्वीट भनेको नर्मल स्वीट भयो. umami भनेको एक्सट्रिम स्वीटनेसलाई umami भन्छ कि इट्स एक्चुअली द जापानिज वर्ड and it's because of the taste of the amino acids. Okay, so यो पोर्सनलाई पनि स्वीट र umami लाई पनि डिफरेन्शिएट गरेर देयर आर रिसेप्टर्स छन् भनेर umami लाई पनि इन्क्लुड गरिदिन्छ. सो इन एक्जामिनेसन लेट्स से इफ यु आर आस्क्ड इन भाइभा how many primary sensations are there in the taste भन्यो भने simply you have to say चारवटा भन्यो भने no problem, but those who said 5 they'll get a good marks. That's the difference. Okay, and the taste sensation is actually influenced by food texture, aroma, temperature, and appearance. And sometimes हामीले जुन माउथमा पिर फिल हुन्छ नि kind of you know माउथमा के चिज छ भन्ने जुन फिल गर्छ, it is actually because of the lingual nerve. It is detected by the lingual nerve in papillae. And कहिलेकाहीँ एकदम हट पेपर खाइरहन्छ नि, एकदम पिरो गरेर खाइरहन्छ नि, generally stimulates free nerve endings and it gives a kind of a pain sensation. तिमीले कहिलेकाहीँ त फिल गरे होला नि, एक्सट्रिम पिरो खायो भने त्यसले not only the nerves of the taste but also it stimulates the free nerve endings, that is the pain, that is a nociceptor. Okay, so this is how it goes through the physiology of taste. You know, कसरी जान्छ त, I mean taste sensation हाम्रो कर्टेक्समा कसरी जान्छ त? So there are the mechanisms of actions which says that it activates second messenger system. Second messenger system भनेको सबैलाई थाहा छ होला है, जीव प्रोटिन युज गर्छ नि, प्रोसेसलाई second messenger system भन्छ. The activators are just like sugars, alkaloids, glutamates. They actually binds to the receptors and activates the second messenger system to carry the action. And because of this, it depolarizes cells directly, because whenever there is second messenger system, it opens the sodium channel. The sodium channel भित्रको के भयो, positive charge cells भित्र जान्छ, causing the depolarization. Okay, now how the taste sensation are projected to the cortex then? First, you know, innervation of taste buds are through three different nerves. There are three different cranial nerves which are responsible for carrying the taste sensation. One is facial nerve, that is 7th cranial nerve, and these are this facial nerve generally innervates the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. And we have a glossopharyngeal nerve, that is 9th cranial nerve, which innervates the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. And we have got a vagus nerve, that is the 10th cranial nerve, innervating the palate, pharynx, and epiglottis. Okay. Just hold on, okay? एकछिन hold गर न. So projection pathways for test. Generally, these nerves. We are talking about these different nerves. These cranial nerves actually they carry the sensation from taste buds to the cortex, and how they carry, they generally give a sensation to the solitary nucleus in the medulla first, then to the hypothalamus and amygdala, which activates the autonomic reflexes, just like salivation, gagging, and vomiting. If I ask you, just like if you put some food, I mean, your tasty food, just like your favorite food, just like ice cream or whatever, if you chocolates or whatever, if you keep that in your tongue, there will be salivation. It's because of these autonomic reflexes, okay, which is governed by the hypothalamus and amygdala. So salivation, gagging, and vomiting यिनीहरु सबै के त hypothalamusले गर्छ. अथवा तिमीलाई के एकदम मन नपर्ने चीज मुखमा राख्दै भने के हुन्छ? Person will do vomiting, right? So it's because of the hypothalamus and amygdala, which reflects the autonomic sensation. And also it sends the stimulus, it projects the stimulus there in the thalamus, then post-central gyrus of the cerebrum, that gives a conscious sense of taste. कसैले हुन्छ नि एकदम मिठो खानु पायो भने एकदम खुसी मानी मानी खान्छ नि. That is actually because of this thalamus, there is a conscious sense of taste. कस्तो मिठो रहेछ भनेर हुन्छ नि. त अब तिहार आउँदैछ, you guys must have, I mean, दशैंमा तिमीले मिठो मिठो खाना खायो होला नि. So what will be the there? See, you can have a lots of connections here. Okay, I'll talk to you the cortex part first, then we'll have a kind of talk, or let's say the interaction running on. Okay, look at this figure. We have 3 different nerves, okay, 7th, 9th, and 10th cranial nerves. So these nerves actually carry the sensation from the taste sensation to the nucleus, a nucleus of solitary tract here first, and it goes to the thalamus here, into ventral posterior medial nucleus of the thalamus, and from here it projects to the cortex, that is the gustatory cortex in the frontal part here. Okay, so exam ma तिमीहरुले के याद गर्नु पर्यो भने, from the beginning, see, from the beginning, just like यहाँबाट taste sensation गयो, then second messenger system activate भएर यसले activate गर्यो. These are the sensory nerve fibers. Now these sensory nerve fibers can be 7, can be 9, can be 10, जुन पनि हुन सक्छ, okay, depending on different parts of the tongue. Okay, यहाँसम्म पुगेपछि के भयो त, यहाँबाट प्रोजेक्ट गरिदिन्छ. कहाँ प्रोजेक्ट गरिदिन्छ? These areas, medulla, then hypothalamus and amygdala, and thalamus. Okay, look at this. Here in the medulla, here first medulla, then here in the hypothalamus, and even here in the this is thalamus, and even here in the hypothalamus and amygdala here, and from there it directly goes to the cortex. Okay, so these are the different sections of the test. र तिमीहरुको एक्जाम को लागि यति नै भयो पुग्छ. के त्यसको लागि केही गर्नु पर्दैन. Okay, let's have an interaction, okay, before going to this smell. Okay, just a minute. Okay, there's Ava Bande, right? Ava, you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ava, just look at the slide once again, okay? Here in the slide, it is said that salivation, vomiting, यिनीहरु सबै के त यो पोर्सनमा पर्ने रहेछ. पहिला यहाँनिर प्रोजेक्ट भयो, त्यसपछि hypothalamus and amygdala, then thalamus. Okay, thalamus र cerebrum means हाम्रो higher cortex ले त conscious sense of taste गर्ने भयो. So how salivation, gagging, and vomiting occurs by this hypothalamus and amygdala? Why this hypothalamus and amygdala are responsible for this vomiting or salivation? What is the function of this amygdala actually?
This is it controls the emotions and memorials.
Very good. See, this is really good answer. It controls the memory. That's why, तिमीले एकदम मन नपर्ने चिज पहिला खाइसक्यो र सेकेन्ड टाइम खायो भने के हुन्छ र you will carry on the emotion always. You will carry on the memory. यो खाएर मलाई भोमिट भयो थियो भने त्यो मुखमा राख्ने बित्तिकै के गर्छ त you will do vomiting. That's why. Or for example, तिमीलाई एकदम मनपर्ने चिज पहिले नै खाइसक्यो कि फेरि त्यो खाना मतलब खान लाग्यो भने के हुन्छ it will be related with the memory and emotions. That's why there will be salivation. Very good answer. Yeah, Abbas did a very good answer. It's really good. Okay, before going to the smell, do you have any questions? Anyone? कसैलाई के कुरा बुझि आई मिन राम्रोसित बुझिरहेको छैन अथवा के क्वेसन्सहरू सेयर गर्नु छ भने we can have an interaction now before going to the smell.
Excuse me, sir.
Yep.
Sir, यो छ नि अगाडि छ नि टेस्टबोर्डको टेस्टबोर्ड भन्दाखेरि सपोर्टिङ सेल र बेसल सेल भन्नु भने सर त्यसको डिफरेन्सेस भनिदिनुहोस् न एकचोटि.
Okay. Okay. Okay, actually यो जुन सपोर्टिङ सेल र बेसल सेल्सको एक्चुअली केही फङ्सन नै हुँदैन. Number 1. Okay. सुन है. See, we have test cells. These are actually the receptors here. You can see this purple or pink color. These are the receptors actually. So supporting cells के गरिदिन्छ भने they are actually stronger than these cells. यसमा खासै देखाइरहेको हुँदैन, यो कलर मात्रै डिफरेन्ट देखाइरहन्छ. एक्चुअली यिनीहरूको जुन स्ट्रक्चर हुन्छ नि यिनीहरूले सपोर्ट गर्नको लागि बनाइरहेको हुन्छ so that anatomical or यसको जुन infrastructure भनौँ न त्यो मेन्टेन गरिराख्नलाई हो. Just like this is called a bird. See, this is a test bird. यो bird कसरी बनिरहेछ त? It kind of a structure बनिरहेछ नि see, randomly बनिरहेछ न. So यो जुन test bird लाई यो structure मा मेन्टेन गर्नको लागि सपोर्ट गर्ने भएकोले supporting cells मात्र बनेको. Okay. See, supporting cells जहाँ पनि हुन्छन्. Not only here, I'll show you even in smell also. Or even in our heart also, even in our lungs also, there are lots of supporting cells. Okay, supporting cells actually के गर्ने हैन. यिनीहरूले एउटा normal infrastructure maintain गर्ने हो. Architecture maintain गर्नको लागि supporting cells यिनीहरूलाई एउटा kind यदि यो supporting cells नभयो भने यो cells यसरी बसिराख्दैन. Maybe यो round भइदिन्छ or यो भन्दा बाहिर गइदिन्छ or यो cellsहरुसँग के communication wrong भइदिन्छ. So supporting cells यसलाई के गर्ने त a kind of support or sometime nutritions पनि provide गरिदिन्छ in case in CNS. Just like supporting cells are also known as glial cells in central nervous system, right? मलाई थाहा छ नि हाम्रो ब्रेनमा we have neurons and glial cells, right? यो के मेरो फेरि क्वेशन सोधेको है?
Yes, sir.
Okay, maybe see, brain we have neurons and glial cells, right?
Yes, sir.
We say glial cells as the supporting cells because it supports the neurons by giving a nutrition. For example, there is a swan cells, then microglial cells, ependydermal cells. It kind of support for the neuron. Similarly here also, it's main cells are test cells. यसलाई के गर्छ त सपोर्ट गर्नको लागि यो सेल्सले इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर मेन्टेन गर्नको लागि यसरी बीच बीचमा आएर एउटा स्ट्रक्चर मेन्टेन गर्ने हुन्छ. द्याट्स व्हाई इट इज नन एज सपोर्टिङ सेल्स. र यसको नाम बेसल सेल किन राखेको भने यसले पनि खास सपोर्ट नै गर्ने हो मेन सेल्सलाई. तर यो जुन एपिकल रिजन भयो यो बेसल रिजन भयो. बेसल रिजनमा भएकोले यो सेललाई simply नाम दिइरहन्छ basal cells. Actually, basal cells are also a supporting cell. Okay, we can say supporting basal cells are also supporting cells. यसको पनि केही खास काम हुँदैन. यसले खास बोथ सपोर्टिङ सेल्स र बेसल सेल्सलाई सपोर्ट गर्ने हो. र यो बेसल साइडमा भएकोले यसलाई बेसल सेल्स भन्छ. सो बुक्सहरुमा यति मात्र दिइरहेको हुन्छ. एक्चुअली डिटेल धेरै बुझ्नु पर्दैन. यसमा एक्चुअली देयर आर लट्स अफ न्यूरोट्रान्समिटर रिलीज गर्छ. यसले यसको हेल्थ मेन्टेन गर्छ. sometimes nutrientsहरु पनि प्रोवाइड गर्छ ग्लुकोजहरु पठाइरे हुन्छ भनेर लेखिरहेछ यति धेरै डिटेल जानु पर्दैन सपोर्टिङ सेल्सले सपोर्ट गर्छ यो बेसल सेल्स बेसल साइडमा पर्छ एटा बेसल सेल भनेको हो इट्स अ काइन्ड अफ अ सपोर्टिङ सेल्स आज यति भए पुग्छ खास है ओके अरु के क्वेशन छ सो छैन भने अघि हामीले भने थियो कि तिमीले याद गर्नुपर्ने यो लिङ्गुअल प्यापिलाइहरु नामहरु देन along with that these 5 different senses छन् okay sweet salty sour bitter and umami यो चाहिँ तिमीले याद गर्नुपर्छ है these innervation of the taste buds by the different nerves याद गर्नु पर्यो र कहाँनिर प्रोजेक्ट हुन्छ एन्ड आभा सेड अ भेरी गुड आन्सर एक्चुअली now these hypothalamus and amygdala they are responsible for the memory and emotions त्यसले गर्दा तिमीले जति पनि हुन्छ नि मेमोराइज गरेर हुन्छ नि यो खाएपछि यस्तो मिठो थियो भनेर यो काइन्ड अफ मेमोरी और इमोसनसँग रिलेटेड भएर सेलिब्रेसन भोमिटिङ गर्ने हुन्छ कि र कर्टेक्स भनेको त कन्सियस नै भइहाल्यो cerebrum is the cortex right so use a conscious sense of taste ए मिठो लाग्यो भनेर जुन कन्टिन्युअस खाइरहे हुन्छ यो सबै के त हाम्रो कर्टेक्सले गर्छ so you need to remember these different nerves and where they projects in our brain यति कुरा चाहिँ याद गर्नुपर्ने है okay let's go to the smell okay. so smell भनेको actually यो त एयरबाट जाने भयो सबैलाई थाहा छ है odor बाट जाने भयो so there is a olfactory mucosa okay in our nose this is olfactory mucosa here यसलाई ओपन मात्र गरेको हो okay this is olfactory mucosa यो सबै olfactory mucosa हो okay and it contains receptor cells for olfaction okay there is a cell is a mucosa छ olfactory mucosa मा यसमा particular type of cells हुन्छ okay that is actually responsible for the olfaction and this olfactory within the olfactory mucosa the cells are highly sensitive and can sense up to something like 10,000 odors okay so smell sensation छ नि 10,000 जति सेन्स गर्ने क्यापेसिटी हुन्छ हामीसँग हैन कुनै राम्रो कुनै नराम्रो यसो गरेर सबै गरेर सम्झना 10,000 so these olfactory mucosa are on something like 5 square centimeter of areas of superior concha and nasal septum okay यहाँ निर हुन्छ I'll show you the figure see example olfactory epithelial cells हरु कसरी बनिरहन्छ see this is the direction of airflow so how my answer and you can see there's molecules these other molecules okay जुन स्मेल आउँछ त्यो मोलिकुल्स हरु यसरी मुभ हुन्छ हावामा हामीले देखिरै आउँदैन but there are fine molecules fine particles हरु गइ नै रहन्छ के तिमी रुममा छिर्यो अथवा किचनमा गयो भने के हुन्छ किचनमा गयो भने you'll feel you'll sense a kind of a smell just like राम्रो पकाइदिन्छ अथवा के अथवा कहिले के हुन्छ नि अब तिमीहरु त घरमा बसे सबै घरमै हो अहिले हो
हजुर सर
सबै घरमा है ओके अब तिमीहरुको यो घर बसाइसकेपछि तिमीहरुको हस्टेलमा आऊ र तिमीहरुको रुम भित्र जाऊ then you'll feel a smell there you love it you love that smell के हुन्छ तिमीहरु अहिले 6-7 महिनापछि हस्टेल भित्र तिमीहरुको रुम भित्र छिर्ने बित्तिकै will you like that smell
No, sir.
Obviously no, right? That is a false smell. So you smell or sabbai ke huncha it comes from the molecules which are there in the air. जसलाई हामीले कोरोना भाइरसको पनि कुरा गरिरहन्छ नि राइट सो कोरोना भाइरसहरु पनि यसरी नै मोलिकुल्सहरुमा जुन एयर ड्रपलेट्सहरुमा यसरी नै मुभ हुने हो के एयरमा देखिँदैन ओके ओके से This is the order molecules and this is the direction of airflow. अब के हुने भयो त यो मोलिकुल्स अब के त यो जुन म्युकस छ नि हाम्रो यो जुन नेजल पार्टमा यो म्युकसबाट के हुन्छ डिजल्भ भएर अथवा ट्रान्सफर मेम्ब्रेन भएर के हुने भयो त it will be sensed by the receptor, that is the olfactory cell. These are olfactory cells, see, not the purple one, a kind of a gray color, this brown or gray color. This is actually the olfactory cells. These all are olfactory cells. That are using purple, a kind of a purple cells. Sorry, again, they are the supporting cell. And from the supporting cells, you can see a kind of a cells here. This is the basal cell again here. At the basal part, this is the apical part. I'll simply you detail nazaun. You want to feed focus karo hai. These are the molecules of the smell. Okay, odor molecules. And here's the mucus. They can dissolve from the mucus and can, stimulate the receptor. And the receptor is there in the olfactory cell. So these all are olfactory cells. There are used structure maintain गर्नको लागि supporting cells ले यसरी maintain गरिरहन्छ. Now look at the difference between the anatomical structure. Okay. अघि हामीले के भने थिए यो भन्दा स्मेल भन्दा अगाडि हामीले टेस्टमा के भने थिए त there is a bud, taste bud, kind of a round shape. त्यो कसरी मेन्टेन भइरहेछ स्ट्रक्चर? It is because of these supporting cells. अब हेरे त यो त राउन्ड छैन, इट्स नट अ बर्ड. ओके, यो स्ट्रक्चर यसरी छ, सी कोलुमनार छ. यो कोलुमनार स्ट्रक्चर मेन्टेन गर्नको लागि यसरी सपोर्टिङ सेल्सले यो सेल्सहरुलाई मेन्टेन गरिरहन्छ. जस्तो इमेजिन गरौँ यहाँ सपोर्टिङ सेल्स भए छैन भने के हुन्छ? यो सेल्स यो स्ट्रक्चरमा हुँदै हुँदैन नि. यो राउन्ड शेपमा जान सक्छ अथवा एक अर्कालाई टच गरेर हुन्छ अथवा के भएर बिग्रिन्छ. So that's why supporting cells they generally support the cell. Okay. Now ultimately you can see these are the olfactory cells. Olfactory cells ultimately get the pass on the ultimately and get the glomerulus one. Glomerulus I'll show you later. Okay, glomerulus one. Okay, you have a sensation and ultimately and synapses glomerulus. Your cells never move but ultimately someone's okay. Yeah, this is a glomerulus or glomerulus you can see olfactory tract here, olfactory nerve on the olfactory tract on the ultimately hammer the brain answer. Okay, now olfactory cells, these are actually it also consists of a hair like structure here, olfactory hair. Just like taste bud taste here but any gustatory hair vanera. So here is the olfactory hairs and neurons with something like one neurons with something like 20 hair or 20 cilia or microvilli. Then it binds the other molecules in layers of the mucus bind on so. Then the egg then passes through the cribriform plate. See, cribriform plate भनेको this is actually ethmoid bone हुन्छ नि मैले एन्डोम पढे होला. Okay, ethmoid bone को एउटा पार्ट हो that is a cribriform plate. र यस्तो जुन यो cribriform plate को यो बीचको त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ के हुन्छ र यसको एक्सन पास भइरहन्छ यसरी यहाँसम्म. And these cells survive for 60 days. So revive हुन्छ अर्को फेरि regenerate भइरहन्छ. And just like before, we have a supporting and basal cells here. Your concept clear air is carrying the molecules, and these molecules, binds with the cilia here. The cilia is a part of this neuron, that is the olfactory cell. Olfactory cell who acts and is indicator. If plate junction from plate को बीचबाट पास भएर यहाँनिर ग्लोमेरुलसमा synapse हुन्छ. Okay, and this basal cell supporting cell they divide everything. Okay, and look at the physiology of smell. Okay, कसरी हुन्छ त? The air molecules, odor molecules, they generally bind to the receptors on olfactory hair. Okay, olfactory hair भनेको olfactory cells बाट भएको जुन apical region मा villi हुन्छ or microvilli, whatever you say. त्यसमा के हुन्छ त bind हुन्छ. Now the molecules can be hydrophobic or hydrophilic. If it's a hydrophilic, it diffuses through the mucus, but if it is hydrophobic, it has to transfer by the transfer protein. Transport गर्नु पर्यो hydrophobic भयो भने. And just like that, it also activates the G protein, the secondary messenger system, and activates the cyclic AMP system by degrading or by breaking the ATP. ATP break गरेर cyclic AMP system activate गरिदिन्छ. Okay. अब के भयो त यो G protein activated second messenger system activate भएपछि के हुन्छ त it will open the channels either sodium or calcium. The sodium calcium open भनेको मतलब के हो त depolarize हुने हो. के receptor potential भनेको depolarize हुने हो र depolarize भएपछि action potential हुन्छ. त्यो सबैलाई थाहा छ. Action potential हुनुलाई सोडियम भित्र जानु पर्यो depolarize हुन्छ. So depolarize हुनुको लागि त्यसले G protein or secondary messenger activate गरिदिन्छ. The action potential travels to the brain, and the most important thing is smells receptors adapt quickly. Okay, and this is because due to synaptic inhibition of olfactory bulbs मा के हुन्छ there is a synaptic inhibition. त्यसैले तिमीले कुनै पनि स्मेल भएको ठाउँ अथवा स्मेल भएको प्लेसमा बस्यो भने के हुन्छ फर्स्ट जाने बेला चाहिँ अलि कस्तो स्मेल आएको हुन्छ तर त्यहाँ एकछिन बसेपछि के हुन्छ त एडप्ट भइसक्यो हुन्छ. अनि तिम्रो साथी भित्र गयो भने के हुन्छ तिमी कस्तो ठाउँमा बसेर कस्तो गनाएको भन्छ नि because you have already stayed there, the receptors adapt quickly. तिमीले फिल गर्दैन तर जो पछि आउँछ नि उले फेरि फिल गर्छ उ पनि त्यही बस्यो भने के गर्छ त उले पनि फिल गर्दैन. So smell is highly adapt हुने एउटा sense हो. Smell can adapt so quickly because of the inhibition in the bulb, olfactory bulb मा inhibition हुन्छ. Now see, olfactory cells synapse in olfactory bulb. Okay, so this is actually the glomerulus. Okay, glomerulus. यहाँनिर synapses हुन्छ. This overall is actually the bulb, olfactory bulb भनेर ठुलो हुन्छ. र यही भित्र के हुने भयो there is a glomerulus and everything. Okay, र यो bulb भित्र जुन glomerulus छ त्यहाँनिर के हुन्छ त synapse हुन्छ. So in spherical cluster called glomeruli is glomeruli detected a single order. So यो आफ्नै किसिमको order हुन्छ एउटा मात्र लिन्छ यसले आफ्नो मात्र लिन्छ यसले आफ्नो मात्र लिन्छ यस्तो के. So as I've said there are something like 10,000s of order or let's say sense you can feel in the smell. भनेको मतलब के त more than 10,000s of यस्तो glomerulus हुनु पर्यो because each glomerulus will carry a different senses. यसले सिंगल मात्र order लिन्छ यसले के. So okay गरी एकदम false smell आयो भने maybe यो एक्टिभेट हुन्छ र यसले ब्रेनलाई भनिदिन्छ कि ए false smell आयो भने कसैले राम्रो परफ्युम राखिरहेको छ maybe यो एक्टिभेट हुन्छ अथवा के राम्रो खानाको स्मेल आयो भने यो एक्टिभेट हुन्छ like that. Okay, now output from the bulb forms the olfactory tract. यहाँबाट के हुन्छ त see this is the bulb overall यो सबै bulb भन्छ यो. Okay, अब यहाँबाट के भयो त ultimately tract formation हुन्छ. यहाँबाट आइरहन्छ यताबाट आइरहन्छ. So we have a olfactory tract. र olfactory tract के गर्छ त चाहिँ it ends in the primary olfactory cortex and the thalamus. Okay, राम्रोसित हेर है first one. Olfactory tract कहाँ जान्छ first olfactory cortex and the thalamus. Number 1. Number 2, it travels to insula and frontal cortex. किन भइरहेछ हामी एकछिन पछि हेरौँ ल. र यहाँ जुन cortex मा पुगेपछि के फिल गर्छ त our cortex will identify